Welcome to our celebration of the life of Arthur Pollock. I'm Jim Schweitzer. This was his idea. Mostly cocktails, that was definitely his idea. The semi-formal comments about him, which will begin in a couple minutes, were not necessarily his idea, but he's not here to be embarrassed, and so we can go on. Joan has asked a few folks to remember Art, and we have promised to be brief and try not to cry. The order will be roughly chronological. We start with Del and Kitty Johnson, who have known the Pollocks since Kitty was Kitty Kelly and Joan was Joan Twitchell. Pardon me? Most certainly are Pollock. So let me call on Del and Kitty. Remember, this is to be fun.
I met Art in the fall of 1962 when he started his teaching career at West Junior Senior High School. We became friends that following year, and when our roommates of the past year left town, we decided to give each other a try and see whether or not we could live together for 9 months. Well, we decided that the criteria was really limited to having the ability to pay rent cash for each of us, and that would also neither of us was too fussy, and we just and we knew each other. Those were the only things that would determine the reason for rooming together. Neither of us was particularly interested in cooking. There was this neat little restaurant up on the corner of the street we lived in, and so we would frequent the place. And its main feature was hamburgers. It had a piano. It had a bowling machine. You remember those machines? Okay. And everything was fine except the stools. Well, okay, it was the restaurant. It was a bar. But it was the beginning of a celebration of life. However, as I thought about Art's life, I thought that celebration was not really indicative of his personality. It was the fact that it seemed to me his greatest feature was one of sharing. He shared meals with many of his friends. He shared knowledge with the students. He shared his wisdom in politics, and he also, if you'll remember, certainly enjoyed sharing his opinions with each of us. Let me tell you a story of his willingness to share. After Kitty and I moved to Akron, and we've been here for a couple of years, we'd gotten to know some of Art's family as well. And at one time, when Fred was in town, he said, "I know this beautiful place where we can go camping." You're already smiling, Joan. He said, "It's a beautiful spot. It's on the lake. Nobody has found it yet. It's not discovered. It's just plain, open, nice territory." So we left. They invited me to go along with them, and I did. So we left Akron about 1 o'clock. We got down to the campsite about 3, where we ran into a traffic jam because people had now known where this campsite was. We couldn't find Fred finally stopped and asked the ranger if he could tell us where Fred Pollock might be actually having a campsite. He said, I don't know, but 2 hours ago there were only 2 campsites left in all of the camps and surrounding Sutton Lake. We drove around until we did find him, and there's Fred lodged up on a hill. So he said, and this is the best of the 2 places that we're in. And well, we got out and we put the tent up. And we dug a trench on the uphill side of the tent so that when the water, if it did rain, would run around the tent and down into the river. Well, about that time, it was getting dark, so we decided it's time for something to eat. So Art grabbed the can and sprayed the frying pan with this grease, and we started frying our hamburgers. Have any of you ever tasted hamburger which has been greased by mosquito repellent? We finally went to bed, and about 4 o'clock in the morning it started raining. And it rained so hard that the waterproof tent we were in began to leak. Not much, but a little. Then, pretty soon, this trench that we had dug filled up, no place to go. So it came into the tent, and it was running down the floor. Well, Fred and I had lawn chairs which opened so that they could be made cots out of. Well, Art didn't have anything like that, so he's laying there in the water and getting soaked. Next morning we got up and headed for the lake. We figured that we'd take the bag along and we put it on the backrest of the car, and it was going to be a hot day. We knew that. So we opened up the window slightly and figuring that that would be enough to dry out the bag. Okay, so then we went out cruising, and we were gone for quite a long time, and we just had a good time out on the lake. We've been cruising for about 3 hours. Fred looked at the gas tank and said, "Oh, heavens to Betsy." Or maybe something different than that. He said, "We've got an eighth of a tank of gas left to get back to the dock." We didn't make it. We stopped about a mile, or the motor ran out of gas about a mile from the dock, and we were fortunate enough that somebody stopped and asked us, "Are you having some problems?" And I said, we said, "Yeah." And he told us into the docks. And then we went back to the car, and that sleeping bag had dried perfectly. And it was just great. So we drive back to the camp. Art grabs his sleeping bag out of the car, throws it into the tent. The sleeping bag was dry, the floor was not. So it still was a night where, unfortunate things happen. But then, late in the evening, it started raining again. And after about, it got to be about about 4 o'clock in the morning when we heard somebody look out and say, "The river is flooding the exit road." We hurried and got out of there and headed back to Akron. We got about as far as the Ohio border, and the car started getting awfully hot. Turns out that there was a leak in the air conditioning system. It was a very hot drive back to Akron. So why did I tell this particular story? It just shows how willing Art was to share experiences, be they good, bad, or ugly. Sometimes the experiences do not go as planned, and certainly many of the events in the camping trip were not planned. But that doesn't mean that sharing should stop. I believe Art lived his life in sharing. When I think of Art, it will be his friendship and his sharing that I will remember.